My name is Zeno Franchini and I studied social design, and after that I started my practice together with Francesca, and we worked together in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, but we used that as a base. We tried to travel and to work in many different places, and we are designer, but at the same time we don't look too much at definition in a way that we now are taking part in this artistic residency, but we see us as cultural workers in general. So also about the medium that we use, it's very different every project, and every project we try to find the best way to engage with people, because this is what our work is about.
I'm Francesca Gattello and I graduated in interior design and product design in Milano. So I'm too Italian, and I went to Eindhoven last year where I reached Zeno and we started to work together, and we opened our studio, and which we are trying to develop, which is called Marginal, and the name is symbolical because means that we are working in the border of different disciplines, which is design, and in this case we came here to work as artists, and so our practice is related to different fields, and we think it's really important to have an exchange with other professionals, and in fact with the residency in La Panacée in Montpellier, we deal with the scientists to develop our project.
We decided to apply to this residency because we wanted to develop a project that we already started to research in, and our focus was mainly on soil, and we decided to focus on that because in our research in other fields, talking about climate change and the issue related to the Anthropocene, we saw that both in science and in art and in other kind of cultural fields, this was sort of a very interesting topic that was developing really fast and somehow proposing new fields for reflection. And when we started to think about cultural tourism, and somehow also how the cities have the necessity to reinvent themselves in relation to tourism, and to propose something that belongs to more cultural aspect, then we thought that that was sort of an interesting metaphor to talk about how the city mechanism and ecosystem works. So first of all, we have to say that Montpellier is really a city plenty of researchers. So somehow we started this project in thinking to engage a broad public, but actually the city is constituted by a heterogeneous composition, which means a lot of researchers in different fields related to agriculture, and a lot of bureaucrats that work in the region, and a lot of immigrants, because historically it's a city which always welcomes a lot of people from different nations. And because of that, we started investigating the notion of terroir. As you might know, French people are really attached to sort of what the soil means for the production of wine, but also cheese and also all the food which is fermented. And we saw that now that somehow the identity of the city becomes important to attract tourists, then people start to search more and more into what is their terroir, what is their roots, what is that thing that makes them special. And so for us it was somehow using a sort of analysis, scientific analysis that is used already in agriculture, but instead of doing it in a rural land, we decided to focus on the urban land. And this means somehow also for the scientists to work on something they don't really know, they don't really investigate, And for us it's a mean to talk about how the city is constructed socially, culturally, on many different layers. So we started with taking sample of the soil and then analyzing them for the mean we had. So we didn't have a laboratory, but we had people who were following us for developing this sort of analysis. And we from the soil sample we took, we started to grow microbes, bacteria, fungi and yeast. And somehow we did that because that was a very visual way to communicate the different life going on in soil. Because if you just look at that, you start to see very different colors. Some are completely white and clean, and these are sterile soil. Some are plenty of molds and colors, and just visually you don't need to be a scientist to know and to compare them. So we were interested in that aspect, the more visual sort of outcome of this kind of analysis, and how we could somehow communicate and engage with people about the places we choose. And every place somehow was or symbolical space in the city, for example the center of tourism, or a conflictual space, so for example the Roma camp, or the town hall, which was somehow the symbol of the power in the city, also because the town hall moved in different places and it represents how the city expanded. And doing this, then we started to collect a lot of information from the people, from the scientists, from the analysis itself about how these layers are constituted. And through this, we started to map the change into architecture, for example. We took old postcard and then we took picture of the same place now, and then we sort of evidenced what was built new. And then we started to imagine, okay, based on the information we have now from soil, we can imagine how it will develop, because we know that this project is going to happen, and we know that soil now it's composed like that, and it will develop a certain kind of activity. And so based on that, we created 5 scenarios, one for each place, which somehow tells about the exploitation of land and sort of the preservation of a natural heritage. In the case of the Jardin des Plantes, which is the botanical garden, which is like one of the oldest in the world, or in case of the, for example, resource consumption, because we also found about a project about water to sell, aqueduct to sell water to Spain. And so we tried to somehow put together all these things and to create a sort of also fictional narrative about it, where we take real elements, but we also arrange them in a way we can tell stories that somehow force you to understand that soil is a resource. Soil is something that it's not only able to tell you a lot about the history, but it's also something to preserve, or not to preserve, but then you know that different social reality are going to be created out of that. Because of course the Roma camp was a very strong experience also for us, because you don't have a concrete, you don't have sewage, you don't have basic health condition, but people are living there. That's part of the city. And somehow we wanted to recognize also that place as part of the city, and to think, okay, more and more cities around the world are developing like that. So this should be taken in account when you think about how to develop a city. In the same way that we take in account other things which are more classical, related to heritage and preservation. Not to give a judgment about or to be just critical, but also to say the reality is very complex and broad, and we try to give you tools to sort of read it.
One of the objectives we had for the project we developed during the residency in Montpellier was also to make the knowledge about the soil more accessible for a broader public, which is more regular, let's say. Also for us it was a really interesting moment to deepen the knowledge about the soil, because we read some articles about it, but in this case having the chance to talk with scientists open a door to really another world. And so we decided to work on the design of a tool which is related to a really simple experiment the scientists are doing to show how the soil is breathing. And so we collaborate with a ceramist, and we developed this object in which we have a ceramic part linked to it's a laboratory beaker, a glass container, yeah. And in this container there's a solution where a chemical agent is reacting to the carbon dioxide is reacting to the carbon dioxide, and so you have this precipitation which is white, and the more precipitation you have, the more the soil is breathing, which means that the quality is high because there's a lot of organic matter in this soil. All the results of the project we collected into one exhibition where we show the tool, the visual outcomes we developed during this period. And we had the chance to talk with some people, which is part of the management of the green areas and spaces in Montpellier. And they were interested in our research, and we will have the chance to develop it further during these months, and in a special place which is the Jardin de la Reine. It's a sort of a really historical place which has been untouched for centuries, and so the soil has to be really interesting.
We're gonna continue with this project as a sort of we constructed the base because of the knowledge we had to build ourselves about scientific processes, about engagement with the public. We sort of constituted this base to build on now. And as we sort of found interest from many parties in the city, which are institutional parties, but also association, we are going to go on in this private garden, in this public garden that has been closed for centuries. And for us, it's really interesting because it started as a participatory project, and then because of the path and the obstacles we had, it was really interesting to work in the more institutional dimension. The residency itself was sort of giving us a platform through the museum, the La Panacée, to sort of have the support of them and their institution to interface with other institutions such as the scientific one, but also the bureaucratic one of the town. Then it became a very elaborated process that I think was the sort of the great advantage for us to be part of this residency, as we are working on the topic since long time, and in these 2 months we could make very huge steps towards more physical outcomes, and that's what we are going to focus on in the next month. and in the next events we are gonna do publicly in Montpellier.